Hi, Joyce at Delightful Quilting and Sewing, a knitting dealer in Avon, New York. And as a knitting dealer, I also sell Quilt Imagine, which is a knitting's computer-guided product. And I am a dealer for IntelliQuilter, another computer-guided system. I've been reflecting lately with the almost 1-year anniversary of the pandemic, where so much has changed in this last year. If you think about a year ago, we were thinking about going to quilt shows. And it wasn't long into the pandemic when we discovered there weren't going to be any quilt shows. And we began to take a new look on what was happening. And we began to reflect. And I'm sure as you think back over this last year, many things have changed. We've been closed up in our homes, unable to visit our family and our friends. And we've gotten out our stash. I've dipped into my stash. I have more stash to go. I haven't really bought any fabric. You know, you've got bins of fabric that I'm sure are laying around. Some of them you've probably made into charity quilts. Others are projects that you had in mind that you are working on. And as we look back over this last year, there's certain things that remain true to the quilting industry. And I think most of us have made a good investment in the products that we need for good quilting. We've invested in a good mat, rotary cutters, kinds of rulers and templates that we need. We subscribe to magazines and we get books, all with ideas on how to make quilts, patterns for quilts. We may even own EQ8 software to help us design our quilts. When we put our quilts together, we spend a lot of time cutting up our fabric into little pieces and then sewing it all back together. And some of those quilts may take us weeks or months to cut through and to put together. And then we finally get down to that point when we're ready to start the quilting process. Most of you that are watching this are long arm quilters, or at least machine quilters, and so that is your thing. You may also be someone that's watching that has customers, and you do the long arm quilting for them because they just love the piecing and they don't like the quilting, but you do. So you end up with a business quilting for others. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the quilting process. You have this beautiful top that you've spent hours and hours on putting together, and when you get to the point of quilting, it's so important to buy quality batting that's going to enhance your quilt. And there's many kinds and styles on the market. You want to make sure that you use really good thread, and there's thread out in the market that's specifically designed for doing machine quilting, either at your home machine or at the long arm. So you want to make sure that the things that you put into your finished quilt are just as good as the money that you have spent on buying your fabric and putting that quilt top together. A quilt that I have over here is an old quilt. This is a 1930s top that I purchased over a year ago at a quilt show. And I went ahead and I put it together, quilted it. The top was very nicely hand-pieced. And when you think about the many, many hours that went into the construction of this quilt, which is 88 by 88, very large, and all of the time it took to cut these with scissors, it's a much more intensive project maybe than some of the ones that we think are intensive for us. And yet it laid unquilted for almost 100 years. I took the time to take a good look at this quilt and determine what really would look good on here. I picked a pattern that would have been kind of similar to what someone might have hand quilted it back in the day. As the quilt spoke to me, I wanted it to reflect all of the intent that the original maker had in putting this quilt together. And I hope that she, maybe he, is happy with how it has come out. So our quilts today are very similar as well. We spend a lot of time piecing the quilts, putting them together. This is a small one. This is a a small quilt as well, more of a throw. But when we take a look at our quilts, we need to let the quilts speak to us and tell us what they really need. Yes, we can use an edge to edge, and if you're doing work for customers, they may only want to pay for an edge to edge. But if you can encourage them to go more is really better, because it'll make the quilt really stand out and shine. So choosing patterns that will enhance the quilt itself. Pattern like this, it kind of looks like an all over, but it isn't. A 100 star pattern. This is the actual pattern here with a custom border on it. Custom quilting in the border. Even a quilt like this. It's a panel. Yes, it's just a panel, but there's blocks all the way around it. And what do you do with something like that? The center panel, I custom quilted by hand so that I could enhance the pattern that was really printed in the panel and make it come alive. One of the quilting things that are going on today, people like to do these one block wonders, which is what this is around here. And again, just a panel in the middle. Again, hand quilted, hand guided quilted here, and using patterns in each of the one block wonder blocks right here, and the border as well. Letting the quilt speak to me as I was quilting it. I had sort of a vision for it, but until I actually got started, the vision kind of developed along the way. One of the things about quilting that I find is really rewarding is that as I begin working on a quilt, it's like opening up Christmas. It's like a Christmas present. And when I did the Dream Big panel that's back here, this was a lot of fun. I looked at this whole panel and I'm going like, oh, that's a lot of work. You know, every little petal that's on there, and there's about 50 different settings in here, and I'm thinking, this is gonna take forever. But once I got started on it, and I did each of these petals, as each one quilted out, it was like opening up a new Christmas present every time. And the quilt began to develop its own personality as I quilted on it. And that's what a quilt has. It develops its own personality. And the kind of quilting that you put on it will be the personality that it has. And that's not to say that edge to edge can't give quilt a personality, because there's certainly times when an edge to edge is very appropriate. But there's times when quilts need more as well. So I encourage you, we have the best of resources available to us these days. We have wonderful long arm machines. We have computer guided systems if we want to go that route, to help us out with the precision quilting and to allow us to quilt patterns that we wouldn't even dream about doing hand guided or free motion. With a computer guided system, it just opens up new possibilities for us. So whether you're hand guided or whether you're computer guided, let me encourage you to take the time and enjoy the journey as you go on and quilt that quilt, whether it's for you or whether it's for a customer. Have a great day. Enjoy your quilting journey this week, and I'll see you next week.